So the Canadian government decided to break some balls this weekend by announcing that the Blue Jays are not allowed to play in Toronto. Fair or foul?
It's fair. They're taking every precaution necessary to, stop the spread of COVID. Like a lot of teams will be traveling to Toronto to play them, and there's still the 14-day quarantine requirement for anyone traveling to Toronto or Canada. It would make no sense whatsoever whenever a team comes and they would have to quarantine for 14 days when they're only playing a 3-game series. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Good decision by the Canadian government to not allow the Jays to play in their home turf. Looks like Dunedin and Buffalo are the only options now. In terms of playing in Buffalo, Salem Field, their minor league park there, has to be up to major league standards because the lighting system is not up to par. So they'll definitely need to work something out with that, with their lighting system, and possibly anything else that may not be up to snuff with MLB requirements.
Yeah, I'm sure their locker rooms aren't what the major leaguers are used to. So
yeah,
no, I just thought it was it's totally fair.
Minor league, ballpark.
I mean, it's still professional ballpark, but it's this is the government made a very fair decision. You can't restrict people going back and forth and then allow athletes to go back and forth so they can play silly games for a meaningless season. I mean, it's weird because the provincial government, the provincial government of Ontario, they gave approval for the Blue Jays to play in Toronto, but it was up to the federal government, and they denied them, which makes sense because not only the teams coming here, would they have to quarantine for 14 days, but the Blue Jays are going back and forth. Like, they're not staying in the U.S. to play their games. They have home games and they have away games. So yeah, especially in Florida, when you're playing two teams in Florida, like I don't know how many times, but you're going to go back to Florida, the central hub of this whole world, apparently, for coronavirus cases. No way. And it's not even the players; it's the staff too. Like, forgetting like the staff, the broadcast crews, like they're all traveling too. You can't just. It's not like the NHL where they have the bubbles where they bring everybody in and quarantine them and they stay in the same place for 2 weeks. Then they start playing. No one's moving out of that bubble. It's a lot different. The one thing I saw in the news was made a lot of sense was the NHL. Like, they're apparently allowing families or the players to bring their families in to watch the games and stuff like that. But there's a lot of families that aren't allowed to see their loved ones because they're not allowed to cross the border or go from international flights and stuff like that. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's only fair that I know a lot of people in Toronto aren't going to like that, but I'd rather not have teams coming in here, the Blue Jays coming back, and anybody, team, staff, possibly getting infected and starting things over here because we're doing pretty good. We're in the low 100s now for cases in the province, and I don't want to see anything spike. The rumor was that they were going to play in Salem Field, which is formerly known as Coca-Cola Field. They sold their naming rights, which I didn't even know because I was trying to find it online. I'm like, we were just there like a couple years ago. But because Salem Field is apparently the highest capacity minor league park in the U.S. It holds something like 16,000 people. But it's one of the first retro classic ballparks. It's not overly spectacular. I'm sure the locker rooms aren't as nice and all that stuff. But they're playing teams in New York State, like two teams in New York. You're playing Philly and you're playing Baltimore. All these teams, they're all closer. Just stay in that bubble because it's going to be too complicated for people to come. Do you give it a fair or foul?
Well, I give it a fair that the provincial government is giving the go-ahead for the Blue Jays to play in Toronto, but the issue remains, with the teams traveling back and forth and requiring to be quarantined like every time that they travel and move around. I think that's it's going to be confusing. It's a lot to keep track of. At the same time, I wish they would just play in Buffalo, but they're saying that the lighting in that stadium is not technologically sound for major league requirements. If and when they're able to play in Buffalo, I think that would be a good thing. But still, there are a lot of options here in the span of 2 weeks to decide where to play. So wherever the Jays are playing, I sure hope that it works out to their advantage.
Well, one thing I guess if they decided where to play is Vlad Jr. They want him to play at first base and DH, sharing those duties with Rowdy Tellez, I think, which is great. I give this 100% fair. I think when I saw the pictures of Vladdy coming in for the spring training game, he looked bigger than he was last year. I mean, you can't move, you can't be that big and play third base. Like, it doesn't work. But I saw the first highlight of him, the very first ball that got hit to him in the first inter-squad game. He made a great diving play and threw it to first base. He looked really pretty relaxed there. And the fact that he did play third, he's got a great arm still. And he's got good footing, so he should be a pretty good fit at first base and DH as well. And he'll learn a lot from Rowdy, who's actually a pretty good first baseman himself. And Travis Shaw will end up, I guess, playing third, but he's out with a groin injury right now, so who knows what's going to happen. They might move Vlad all the way back to third. But Vlad playing first base or DH, fair or foul?
I think it's fair. It's a breath of fresh air for him. Like, he's not well. He has some athleticism. But I guess like not much as other players. But I do think that it's playing in first base could be an advantage for him, and being DH, it's an advantage. It's an opportunity also for him, and if Travis Shaw gets injured and needs some time off, then Vlad can go back to third. I think there's still an opportunity for Vlad to play in third base, but I think first base for him would be a good opportunity and advantage. Yeah, the Tampa Bay Rays catcher Kevin Smith says his teammates are being called names when wearing a mask down in Florida. Florida has over 240,000 cases of COVID-19 so far, and it's one of the highest in the country. Smith feels like very different being treated in Florida as his home state of Pennsylvania, where masks are really worn over there, very importantly. He just feels a different treatment in Florida. One of his teammates actually went out for groceries and was wearing a mask and was called a pansy by the local residents there. So what do you think? Fair or foul on this one?
Oh, of course this is foul. You're calling people pansies for protecting their health? Well, you know what? When you get coronavirus and die, yeah, we'll see who's laughing now. It's a freaking global pandemic. I don't understand why people if people don't want to wear a mask, fine, but don't ridicule people that do because you think it's not cool enough. You don't look tough enough. It's absolutely ridiculous that people would call anybody a name for trying to protect themselves and the likelihood of the health of other people. Because if you're protecting yourself, you're protecting others. So I don't understand the mentality, but definitely foul.
Yeah, definitely foul for me as well. I mean, I don't know. It's just the stubbornness of people not wanting to wear a mask. They think that COVID-19 is just a phase, but it is really not. It's a pandemic happening, so you got to be vigilant with your health.